This is garbage. I was doing so great when I wasn't trying to think of what to say.
Yeah, just start over. We just go from here, you know? Just remember, it's serious pasta for serious
For
people.
serious people.
Go.
Hi, Patreon. Welcome to Serious Pasta for Serious People.
That's the new name for the podcast. Got it.
Thanks for coming. Nick and I are going to do some reading on creepypasta. We found one called The Face of Fear. Neither Nick nor I have read any of this, so this is a first for both of us. Yeah. It's written by Michael Whitehouse, and it was published in 2013. All right.
Set the mood. We got a picture of like a creepy ass house and like a desolate kind of snowy, swampy kind of thing with maybe some eyes out there.
Looks like he's got a shaggy hair going on in this house.
Nice.
Creepy red eyes. Ooky spooky.
All right, my body's ready. Hit me with that creepy pasta.
You ready? Twice I saw the face in the window, pressed up against the surface, its icy breath fogging the glass. At first it appeared strange to me, the skin beneath its eyes drooping in ripples of flesh, exposing the red sensitive satra underneath. It was the winter of '83, and I had looked in the cabin for 3 nights. Only 3. Nope, I read that wrong.
It's all good. You looked in the cabin for 3
whole
nights.
I booked. I wasn't looking in it. I booked that cabin for 3 nights. Only 3. A break was needed. Somewhere to relax, somewhere to recover. It had a heart attack 2 months earlier, a painful, excruciating experience which I would not wish on my worst enemy. Lying there, sprawled across my kitchen floor, the sharp agony had siphoned through my veins, chest, arm, jaw. I lost consciousness only to find myself in a hospital bed days later. It was my daughter, Jen, who discovered me. Thank God for her. The cabin was to be a retreat, a nice place far removed from the stresses of my life, the fallout from my failed marriage, the pressures of a flagging career, and the ordeal of staring death in the face. Comfort had become a stranger. Fear, however, was now both my enemy and my constant companion.
Yay, constant companion, fear.
Fear!
That's my constant companion, too.
He's my best friend. Each beat of my heart was felt. The slightest change of rhythm or palpitation, a nursery for terror. I've felt that before. Stuff starts to go and you go, oh shit, it's gonna happen again.
Oh, no.
Heart, don't fail me now.
Or just fail me right now and get it over with.
Yeah, don't make me panic about it. It only makes it worse. The knowledge that, at any time, the agony of death could be brought upon me by the very thing which gave me life. Seems perverted, an abomination of purpose. I now wandered through life like glass, afraid that the slightest exertion might shatter me.
Oh, that's delightful.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it gives him a reason to just not exercise.
Yeah. I mean, that's my reasoning.
I got a bad heart.
Ticker's done gone shit.
I'm just gonna sit here, eat cake.
Watch Maury Povich.
Oh, God. That's too far. Too much.
Nope.
No. Not gonna happen. The doctors had done their best through surgery and medication. Now it was my turn to help my body heal the best it could. Only time will tell how successful such efforts had been. I was advised to relax, to undertake some limited physical therapy, and avoid any anxiety or sudden shock.
Yeah, good luck with
life. Yeah. Right. But how does one avoid a shock or a nasty surprise? By its very definition, a shock is unknown, unforeseen, unexpected event, which lurks in the darkness of obscurity, out there, mingled with the fog of yet to come, around a corner, in the next room, a wrong turn taken, or an unwelcome phone call bearing bad news. I found the entire concept of avoiding the unanticipated to be a laughable one. And still, there I was, preparing for a quiet solitude of the countryside, following the advice of the experts and those men and women in sterile white coats. I had almost ignored their recommendation, remaining slumped at home, festering, counting the hours and the beats of my heart as finite measures of my life, when still the mind can unleash a terrible onslaught of memories. Yep.
Oh yeah. What do you think of how this is written? This is written pretty well.
I'm enjoying reading it. It reads really well.
Yeah, considering most creepypastas are like, and then shit happened. Instead, like, it's
No.
like no explanation. It's just like, blah. It's like, this is actually written very well.
It, like, gets you into it where, like, part of me wants it to just jump to the creepy stuff. It's kind of cool that it's building.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I thought of Susie, of the years spent together and now wasted. I had been happy once, but I had played my part in where we ended. She came to visit me in the hospital. Perhaps she too wished for reconciliation, but feeling the gulf between us as she sat at my bedside was worse than any physical heartache. We smiled. We spoke the empty words of day-to-day which litter each and every hospital ward.
Damn.
As she, yeah,
That's a heavy line.
it's true. They just litter. It's all over the place.
Yep.
But no one's really saying anything.
No, everyone's just like, hey, guy, how's it going? Look,
How is your day?
how's the burn ward treating you?
Ouch.
Yeah, that's what they said too.
Ah! As she left, she touched my hand for the briefest of moments, and yet I could tell that she no longer sheltered the spark she once had for me. She tried to be kind, but some things done and said can never be taken back. A fire of resentment which can never be extinguished. They say time heals all wounds, but some cuts are deeper than others. In those bleak days of loneliness, I had only the thought of my daughter to keep me from slipping into the dark depression, and yet she stayed with her mother most of the time. Perhaps I had been cold towards her too. I knew my failings as a husband, but I had never conceived that I had been anything but a loving father. And so I lived for those brief 2 days a week when I could see her. The in-between times were filled with fear of death and thoughts of worthlessness. Friends, family, doctors, they all urged me to go on a holiday, but I was afraid, scared of my heart giving up, frightened by the possibilities brought forth by an anxious mind preoccupied with the fragile body which housed it.
Ugh, this shit's getting too real.
Yeah, it is. We're just going to keep going deeper and deeper.
I thought this was supposed to be creepy, not just utterly
This
depressing.
is sad. Yeah.
More pasta.
More pasta, less sad.
Yeah, less sad, more pasta.
If it hadn't been for Jay, I would have never gone. He visited me several times a week and encouraged me to be as upbeat as possible with his usual quips and jokes. He kept me going, in fact. And he finally persuaded me that the few days away in the countryside would do me good. Still, I was terrified of being left alone, isolated, away from the things and people. What if I had another heart attack? Perhaps the next one would be fatal, and even if I could be saved, I would be too far from help to reach me in time. I needed somewhere that I could relax away from the world, and yet not so far from the wonders of modern medicine. And that's why we chose Blackwood Cabin. All right, here we go.
Nothing ominous about the name Blackwood Cabin. Welcome to Blackwood Cabin.
I think that's a good time for you to take it away.
Okay. All right. All right. You say the name's Jay? Is that how you pronounced it? Okay.
That's how I pronounce it.
Jay had visited there as a child. It sat on the outskirts of a large forest, hemmed in on a patch of open ground by a beautiful flowing river on the other side. Despite its seeming detachment from the world, it was in fact only 6 miles from the nearest hospital, which stood near a small town on the boundary of that thick, darkened web of trees. This, and the insistence of Jay that he stay as well, left me content enough in the knowledge that help would always be at hand. I could feel myself begin to relax as we left the city, and during the drive we both talked and laughed, reminiscing about our days together at university. For the first time in months, I felt positive about the world, watching the motorway recede into the distance, relinquishing its concrete grip to the wild, untamed and imposing grandeur of the great outdoors. Only once did I bring up the mention of Susie and our separation, but Jay quickly turned the conversation around to something more positive and fun, as he often did. I held out hope that the divorce would never be finalized and that she would come back to me. But hope too can be extinguished. It can be an exhausting predicament. So I attempted to filter Susie from my mind as best I could. We're not getting any pasta yet. Just a lot of like introspective existential dread.
Yeah, this is just sadder and sadder. I think that's gonna set us up just to feel sorry when something bad does happen.
Yeah, I think that this is gonna like be like his like all of his fears collapsing in on him or something. Like
great.
Like that's how it feels like it might go, but it wouldn't make any sense. And then I got to the cabin and there he was, a clown. Like it's just like
that's
what?
True. Just take a giant left turn.
And that's the end of the story. It's just all of this build up. There was a clown and I hate clowns. The end. It's like people really liked this? What the fuck?
And I was scared.
I don't even think the same person finished this. It looks like it's written in crayon. The single-track road weaved its way through Blackwood Forest. Oh, Blackwood Forest, delightful. We wriggled over 6 miles of twists and turns and serpentine slitherings before we finally reached the clearing. A large waterlogged patch of wild glass carpeted the area. So much so that we had to park the car a few hundred feet from our destination for fear of getting stuck. In the center of the soaked near marshland ground stood the rickety and aging shelter, which we intended to call home for the following 3 days. I'm sorry if I'm walking up to a cabin and the first word that I'm describing it as is rickety and I booked it.
Yeah. You should have known that. I can only imagine how many bugs are there. I just picture all the mosquitoes.
Yeah, fucking gross.
Nope.
But it's winter. It's winter, right?
Did they? I don't know if they said.
I thought that they said it was like icy stuff at the beginning.
Oh.
So maybe not. Well, then it's just gonna be drafty. I'm gonna catch my death. I'm gonna die of hypothermia before this fucking
instead of a heart attack
kills me.
At least you'll be warm.
Yeah, sure.
It's the nice part of how you feel warm before you die with hypothermia.
That happens in fires too. Ask those people.
There's your fun fact.
The previously mentioned burn ward.
Oh, Jesus.
Don't bring him into this. Okay. The cabin was itself small, with one main room complete with cozy log burner and stove, and 2 cramped bedrooms at the back. It had been there for an age. That much was certain. And the darkened timber beams which carried the heavy burden of time above sagged and dipped as they lurched across the ceiling. The smell of moss and bark swathed the air, and the sound of the flowing river on the other side of the cabin bubbled and brewed, peaceful, serene, yet mysterious.
Do you find any of that cozy and comforting?
The bubbling river and all that, yes, but the smell of moss and bark, I mean, yeah. I guess I understand, like, the earthiness smell, but, like, in my place where I'm supposed to sleep, right. I don't want it to, like, because that instantly tells me that it's probably really moist in there, too, and I'm not I'm gonna be sticky.
Gross. The word alone is gross.
They're getting a horrible Yelp review. This Airbnb can suck all of my ass.
That's your review.
Yeah. Dear internet, suck my ass. Regards, the burn ward. All right. The first day was uneventful, exactly what I needed. Relaxing with a book in front of 3 large logs smoldering in the fire, and spending a little while sitting on the steps to the cabin, watching the river swell and swarm with the winter currents. Yeah, see,
there it is.
It was then that I understood the naming of the place, peering out across the bobbled grass to the tree line. The forest seemed picturesque yet impenetrable from distance, and the clearing where the cabin sat provided only a temporary pause to its encroachment. before it once again continued to blanket the land on the other side of the river. The woodland was dark and black, yes, but full of life, of vibrancy, of things, deer, foxes, beetles, hey, there's your bugs, rabbits. But I would never have guessed at the horrors which lurked between its tightly woven evergreen branches.
We're getting there.
All right, you take over.
At first, that did sound really peaceful and pretty. Dark and black and full of life.
And evil.
Many tourist traps survive on tales of ghosts and ghouls hidden somewhere nearby. Stories exaggerated by pub landlords and hotel managers, speaking of rooms where something ominous walks at midnight at the midnight hour. Visitors flock to such places hoping to spend the night in a haunted room, to glimpse something in the darkness which whispers the thought that life is more bizarre, more interesting than we could possibly imagine. Even that lonely and forgotten cabin seemed to have something of a myth attached to it. In a bookshelf tucked away in the corner of one of the rooms, Jay found a warped, old hardback. Oh, boy.
It's the Necronomicon! Oh, God, this is Evil Dead.
Oh, God. The writer's name is Ash. We just don't know it.
Oh, shit!
The papers were yellowed, and while it contained a publication date of 1967, I was certain that it had only ever seen one pressing, left in the cabin to titillate those staying there. The book was called The Beast of Blackwood Forest.
Oh, God.
Yep. Rifling through it, I found that the author had dedicated much of her life to the documentation of this local legend. I had myself heard stories when I was younger, as I once dated a girl who lived in a nearby town. All the kids talked about the Beast of Blackwood, the creature which everyone's uncle had seen while out hunting in the forest. Dark, hulking, monstrous. Of course, I always laughed at such things, and no concrete evidence for it had ever been found. But each winter, there were rumors, whispers about something shambling through the woods at night. As the day gave way to twilight, I read through some of those pages while Jay stalked the stove and prepared supper. Although I discarded the legend as nonsense, I found the book quite compelling, and the eyewitness testimonies contained therein affected me enough to cause me to see something which wasn't there. Shadows moving outside under the cloak of dusk. I began to feel my heart once more and decided that it was best to leave the terrors of the horror genre, fact and fiction, behind. My mind was still fraught with the strain of Susie leaving me. There he is again, man. Just can't get over her.
Can't. Bitches be
Move
crazy.
on, man.
Come on, man. You got beasts to worry about.
Right. Just push her to the side. You have more pressing issues. The strain of Susie leaving me and the fear of the slightest palpitation signaling another heart attack. So, accounts of a terrifying creature preying on those in my immediate vicinity, no matter how preposterous, were not suitable for a fragile disposition. The clean country air, on the other hand, was doing me a world of good. After dinner, Jay surprised me with a bottle of my favorite whiskey. So the whiskey isn't a problem? He can drink whiskey and have heart problems, but not like a little spook?
It thins your blood.
Okay. All right, science. 16-year Lagavulin.
Hell yeah.
I only know how to say that because of Parks and Rec.
Ron Swanson.
So, thank you, Ron Swanson.
Nice Lagavulin.
Yeah, I knew the doctors would frown upon it, but the idea of swishing that warming liquid gold around my mouth and taking a deep gulp reminded me of something essential.
All the years that I did porn.
Or...
Oh, sorry.
It reminded me of being normal again, of being strong, of sitting with my family at home while my wife and daughter enjoying the finer side of life. A few drams would not be unwelcome. We talked and laughed about the past while playing cards and enjoying again, reliving old adventures we had traveling together during our university summers with the old gang. I would have happily stayed there, wrapped in the comfort of those memories for an eternity, and in many ways I wish I could have sunk further into the moment of relief from my recent worries, but that would not be. Around 11 o'clock, the log burner was running low, and we had all but run out of wood. Jay drunkenly picked up a torch and decided that he would go and quickly gather some more so that we could keep the good times flowing. I didn't protest. I was happy. I was content to allow the night continue. He was a good friend and insisted that I not raise a finger out there in the cold darkness. He was always braver than me, and I'd be lying if I said that the outlandish thought of something lurking in the woods hadn't left its mark.
Before we continue on, you think he's not coming back?
No, I don't think he's coming back.
Exit stage right.
Right, he's definitely done. That's all. I watched from the window for a moment as the beam from his torch bounced along the uneven, now frozen grass. The light dropped to the ground for a second. There we go. And I heard the drunken, merry laughter of my friend echoing out as he picked himself back up before continuing toward the tree line.
Oh, man, we've all been there.
Fell. Yeah.
Oh, shit. All right, let's continue.
Nobody saw that.
Yeah, I'm out here in Blackwood Forest. You know, I heard there's a beast out here.
I sure hope he didn't see that.
Yeah,
That'd be embarrassing. Smiling.
I hope it's not a bear. That would be embarrassing. Oh, dad joke 1.
It was so good. Smiling, I returned to my book of choice, flicking through a few pages of the Ellery Queen detective novel, less dangerous than the previous read. After about 15 minutes, I realized how truly silent the cabin was. No noise, no wind, no sounds of life or living, and for the first time I sensed something sinister resting in the stillness. Suddenly, Jay burst into the cabin and collapsed on the floor, panting. He turned to the door and kicked it shut with his heels frantically, his eyes wide, panicked, disbelieving. Scrambling back to his feet, he turned a small table onto its end and wedged it against the skin of the aging wood under the handle. "Help me, for Christ's sake," he was... Oh. "Help me, for Christ's sake," he whispered anxiously. I need to change my tone.
Yeah. "Help me, for Christ's sake," he whispered anxiously.
Yeah. Oh, man. I stood up quickly and rushed to me friend's aid.
Well, I think our author is British or something, because like they referred to like university. The flashlight as torch, at university, stuff like that. So we're definitely like in the UK.
I was picturing a legit torch taken from the fire.
Well, I mean, he's fucking hammered. He's like, "I'm going out to fucking find more shit in the woods."
Into the woods.
I have been that guy. Like,
yeah.
Adventure. And then Nick was never seen again.
Yeah. I lost my spot. There we go. I stood up quickly and rushed to me friend's aid, helping him pack furniture, anything with weight, against the door. It was the first time since the heart attack that I had physically exerted myself, and it would not be the last. Ooh. I felt the blood pump through my chest and momentarily quiver at the sensation. I tried to find out what had happened, but Jay was exhausted and distraught. A shiny streak of sweat ran down his cheek, and he wheezed and gasped for air. He flicked the light switch, smothering us in a darkness which was only broken by a crescent moon hanging in the sky outside. Its slivered light vaguely illuminating the inside of the cabin. Prowling the window which gazed out toward the forest, his stare never broke for a moment from the frozen world outside. He stood there, my repeated questions going unanswered, slowly my fragility returned. I rubbed my chest for a moment as my friend's anxiety seemed to spread to me. My heart raced and my mind swung like a pendulum between the fear of an agonizing heart attack and the terror etched in Jay's face. Just what had scared him so badly? I breathed deep to calm myself, but Jay took no notice. He was too fixated on the darkness outside. It was only when I poured him a large whiskey that he finally broke his silence.
I've never been frightened of words, but my friends certainly shook me. There's something out there. I did not reply immediately, but when I did, I could only think to ask, something? What could have what could he have meant by such an oh my god, indefinite term? There were no bears. Ah, see, no bears.
No bears. All right.
There were no bears in this part of the country, no large predators at all. But it did indeed seem that Jay had seen something big in the woods. He had been gathering wood for the stove around the tree line of the forest, and as he described standing there listening to a short flurry of rain tap the canopy above him, that's a sentence. I could see the
It's
fear,
not over yet.
I could see the fear grip his insides, and it did mine. As it did mine. My God, I need to learn how to read.
That was a really long sentence.
It was very just like where's the beat?
How do you do this?
How do you word? Where do word? My heart began to pound harder as Jay stuttered over the words. I saw it moving between the trees, straight for me. I didn't look back, but I'm telling you, it wasn't human.
Oh,
I knew my friend was convinced by what he said, but I dismissed the notion of an unknown creature stalking the woods outside, and perhaps in the attempt hid the descriptions from the yellowed pages of the book which had etched into my mind. I very much did entertain the idea that there was someone out there, someone dangerous, mad, or perhaps both. My pulse continued to race, and I could feel my heart beating wildly at the thought of a shadowy figure prowling around outside, watching us, waiting. After finally composing himself, Jay asked if I was okay, his fear turning to concern for his friend, but I myself was transfixed on one course of action: escape. I rushed
to where? It's outside.
To its loving embrace. I just wanted to be like in its furry chest hair for all
Susie!
eternity. Susie! I rushed over to the cabin's phone, but on picking up the receiver, I was greeted by an icy silence. The line was dead, and what that still lifeless receiver said about the unseen threat I was sure we now faced was enough to thrust dread into my very soul. These sentences were not like this earlier. They used to have a rhythm. They don't so much, like now it's like just comma on comma on comma on comma, because previously I was like, man, this is very well written. Now it's like getting like overly verbose.
Yeah,
so.
The last couple have been tough.
I'm like, oh, I'll take over, and it's just like, okay, there's gonna be a paragraph with one sentence.
Yeah. And you have to figure out where the inflection goes.
I know,
Go!
Right? Jesus Christ. I stood there for a moment, desperately trying to formulate a course of action, period. That serene, peaceful place in the daytime now felt imposing and absent of mercy. I just wanted to go home. Jay motioned for me and then pointed with shaking hand at the darkness outside. It was then that he let out a suffocated whisper. It's there.
Oh, shit.
You okay over there?
Yeah, we're good. Just the idea. This is like we've talked about before, like just seeing a shadowy figure or just like lurking and you just fixate on it and you can finally see what it is. Yeah. Terrifying.
Well, and not even see what it is, but see that it is. Like
that it
is there. Like what it is, I'm not sure, but it's there.
Yeah, it's creepy. We're getting creepy.
Looking out into the moonlight night, I saw nothing at first, but as my eyes adjusted to the darkened landscape outside, I finally saw it. Deep down, I had hoped that Jay had simply drunk too much and spooked himself while out there. But now, any dream of a simple and harmless explanation was extinguished. Someone was standing amongst the trees, just standing and looking, bathed in darkness. It was difficult to make out any detail. All I could see was an outline, the outline of a stooped and hunched figure, its arms wrapped around a tree as if steadying itself. I could not be sure, but it felt as though its stare was firmly transfixed on our cabin, our rickety shelter for the night, which had no doubt seen many winters there before, and perhaps even encountered whoever or whatever was looking at us from across the sodden stretch of icy marsh which surrounded us.
Oof.
Who is that? I stammered. Keep your voice down, Jay snapped in return. And so we whispered and spoke of the hunched figure standing only a few 100 feet from us. It's not a man, Jay kept saying, but I continued in my attempts to dissuade him from that conclusion. I saw it through the trees. It moved. It moved in a weird way, limping, like it was off balance or deformed or something, but it moved fast. I have no idea how I made it back. Maybe it won't leave the trees. His eyes widened, and it was clear that a revelation had sprung forth from his mind. He turned suddenly, walking across the room to a table where I had left those yellowed pages, which spoke of a strange creature living in the woods. Jay thumbed through it, shielding the light from his torch as best he could with his hand. As I watched him scan through the contents and flick to what he seemed so animated about, I almost laughed at the insinuation. It's a man, Jay, just someone messing with us. But he was convinced otherwise. Look at this, he said, following the text with his finger as he read. Accounts have varied over the centuries, but a central element to the myth states that the beast of Blackwood only wanders from the forest late at night. It has suggested that the creature uses the thick canopy as protection from daylight hours. Locals claim that it's entirely nocturnal. There's no such thing as the beast. I can feel my pulse thicken as my blood pressure increased at the idea, so much so that I had to sit for a moment to allow my heart to recover its normal beat.
All I can picture is the beast from Beauty and the Beast in this.
Mine is, was it the Beast of East Street or something like that from Goosebumps? It's just like
East
this,
Street Band? Yeah.
Yes, it's the Beast Street Band. Or Beast from X-Men. It's just this blue Kelsey
Glasses.
Grammer out there, just like, tossed salad and scrambled eggs. And everyone's like, oh, Jesus Christ, he's here.
Run away!
Okay. Are you okay? I'll be fine. Let's just wait until it gets light and we can leave. Are you crazy? You didn't see that thing up close. It's huge and quick. If it wants to get in here, it will. So there's a weirdo in the woods. He can't wait us out all night anyway. He's probably just a hunter or someone camping in the forest. He'll be harmless. I listened to the words exit my mouth. Even I didn't believe them. There was something about the place, a silence, deathly, icy, a sickly sense of dread hanging in the air, hidden between the bark and the moss. Jay turned to look outside, to the grassland which etched towards our car, sleeping in the night chill between us and the brooding forest. We need to leave, or you can stay here and I'll get the police. Either way, I'm going. He turned to look at me sternly. Which would you prefer?
I thought he was a good friend. Good friends don't separate.
Hey, man, fucking, it's you or me. Like,
so when monsters are involved, every man for himself.
Goddamn right.
All right.
I mean, did you see this thing? I mean, because I did and you didn't. Like, so, I mean, I know what I'm talking about. And you have a bum ticker. You're just going to weigh me down.
This friendship's over. I'm getting out of here.
You know what? Susie and I are going to be happy without you, okay?
Just let the monster eat you. You'll be better off.
Yeah, you'll just be fine, okay? You'll be fine. Let's see, where was I? Okay. I might not have been convinced that it had been an unknown creature that had stalked him through the woods, but by God, I didn't want to stay in the cabin alone. I threw my stuff in a bag, as Jay did the same, each of us grabbing a knife from the kitchen for protection. And there we stood, looking at the door, a pile of furniture wedged behind it. We dismantled our makeshift barricade as quickly as we could, and then brandished our kitchen knives nervously, slowly opened the door. It creaked open, sucking in the night air, which felt cold and bitter, and revealed a slow patter of light rain, threatening something greater from the heavens.
Oh, boy.
Jay poked his head out first, and then after a brief silence waved me on. We descended the dozen or so steps which led down onto the grass, and as we peered around the corner, we could see our ticket home. The car was parked a few hundred feet from where we stood, nestled in the last piece of dirt track, which would give way to road, and then the safe embrace of home, if we made it. It would take a minute or so to reach, but with knowledge of the figure in the forest lurking around somewhere nearby, it seemed like an eternity away. I slung the strap of my bag over my shoulder, and Jay, mindful of my condition, headed towards the car first. "Keep looking around," he urged me with a whisper. The waterlogged grass squelched underfoot, and the rain began to grow more angered as we stepped tentatively towards the safety of the car. We tried to be as quiet as possible, but even in the moonlight, we had to use our torches to see what was ahead of us, advertising our position to anyone or anything in the vicinity. I kept looking towards the forest, the tree line, the thickening river behind me, but I could see nothing, nor could I hear anything but the raindrops, which now battered against the car and splattered on my hood. Then Jay suddenly stopped. "What is that?" I whispered over the rain, my heart now beating wildly, throat dried by worry. The rain subsided slightly, replaced by the silence of a landscape petrified, frozen by a winter chill. Jay spoke without turning his head towards me, his breath visible in the beam of my torch. "I thought I saw it moving in the tree line." A crack of wood, the sound of the unseen walking over the forest floor. "Come on, Jay. Come on," Jay whispered with urgency, and we broke into a brisk jog. Just a brisk jog. Adrenaline coursed through my veins as my pulse thumped desperately. As we continued on, all I could think of was my heart and the deep, stuttered and freezing breaths I took in trying to calm myself. As we drew closer to the car, the faint whisper of moonlight hung in the air, and the crescent above us swung behind a pack of clouds, and the world took a strange, icy blue. Stumbling over the grass, we finally reached the gray outline of our ride home. "Open the door, let's get out of here," I pleaded as Jay fumbled for his keys, dropping them onto the ground. "Bastard!"
Of course he did.
He growled. And then he ran up the stairs and broke his ankle. Instinctively, I pointed my torch downward, illuminating the long wild glass, now whitened by a thick coat of frost beneath our feet. I waited for an instant as I peered down at the ground. I recognized that something was very wrong. Jay was not moving. He hadn't even looked down to see where he had dropped the keys. He was staring at something, and the look of sheer panic in his eyes told me that we were not alone. I raised my hand, and with it, a beam of light glinted off of the car. Two large eyes stared back from the other side of the vehicle, a hunched, hulking thing glaring up at us, crouched behind the car bonnet. It shivered, and then again, and as it rose up, I saw it for a moment. Wet-drenched hair, mouth gaping, its face a pallid and quivering gray. It groaned loud, with a strange, unearthly, and high-pitched undertone, which only added to the creature's horrid appearance. "Run!" Jay yelled. I did not need to be told twice. I dropped my bag and ran as fast as I could. I panted, sweat, stumbled, thrust myself forward with every ounce of energy I had left in me, and as I did so, the first pains came. Then freezing cold stung my eyes. I fell twice, helped to my feet by my friend. My heart staggered. It heaved and battered in my chest. I feel the slight twinge of pain run up my neck, nestle in my jaw. My chest tightened. I cried in terror. This was a heart attack. I yelled out, "Help!" But all I could hear was Jay running behind me, screaming for me to move faster. "Keep going! Don't look back!" There you go. I gotta wet my whistle.
Yeah. I just have to I have a problem with the fact that they were at the car.
Yeah.
And they're gonna move. So instead of picking up the keys and getting in the car, they ran?
Yeah. Upstairs and broke their ankles.
I disagree. While having a heart attack. As the cabin came into touching distance, I heard the heartbreaking absence of my friend's footsteps. I knew Jay all those years, as close as we were. He was always the brave one, something I had at times been jealous of, the stubborn enough to stand up to anything. I understood implicitly that he was buying me time, a selfless gesture, which helped me make it to the steps, scrambling up them only to turn and see him staring the creature down, face to face, the beast shrouded in shards of night. As its hulking mass lunged towards him, a searing pain ran up my neck from my chest. I collapsed to the ground. But he needed me, and whatever life was left in my failing body, I was compelled to use it to help him. Staggering to my feet, the night air stinging my lungs, I lurched forward, clutching my chest, ready to strike the beast with everything I had. Before I could assist, Jay appeared from the darkness, grabbing my arm and threw me into the cabin. He frantically barricaded the door once more. See? They ran out for no reason.
Yep.
Right back where they started.
And now I don't think they have the keys either. The keys are out by the car, and they just ran in, had a heart attack.
And he had a heart attack.
And he had a heart attack.
And he had a heart attack.
I would like the prime rib and the heart attack.
We slumped to the floor, breathless, deciding to keep the lights out, and listened. Shuffling in the darkness, but nothing more. The pain in my chest had subsided slightly, and it was clear that the heart attack had begun.
The heart attack had begun!
But when it would end me seemed uncertain. What was that thing? I asked between gasps. I don't know, but it wasn't human, said Jay solemnly, before showing me the knife he had used during the fight, now covered in a putrid black liquid. I don't think even this hurt it much. This is crazy.
That is a sentence.
Yeah, I don't think even this hurt it much.
Okay. I guess it makes sense.
It does. It's just not how I speak, so it didn't read well.
I don't think even this hurt it much. That's improper. God damn Brits.
This is crazy. What do we do now?
I don't know. Probably run up the stairs and break our ankles some more.
Break all the ankles. I just don't know. And so we waited and waited. But the pain in my chest grew steadily, my breath more erratic. I took my pills, but I knew that the old enemy had returned and that I needed more than something to calm my nerves. If I hadn't received medical attention, there was every chance I would die. Jay stared at me as I sat on the couch against the window, worried that each breath would be my last. We need to get you to a hospital, he said gently. Yeah, just chopper me in. We both laughed for a moment.
Oh, I'm dying.
It was so good.
The heart attack or the beast, which will be my choice.
Can we take I know it's right in the middle, but so this is taking slightly longer than I was expecting. Not a big deal, but I do need to take Wyatt's friend home in 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay.
So is there a way that we can break and then come back? Okay.
Yep, I can pause it. You want to pause right now?
Sure.
Okay.
Jay stood up and looked outside. He seemed reluctant at first, and no wonder considering what lurked outside. But his concern for me appeared to slowly drown out his fear. I can't see anything out there anymore. The moon is behind those clouds. We might not get another chance. I think I can make it to the car quicker on my own. But that thing's out there, I said. Deep down, ashamed of my fear of death, galvanized a hope that my friend would indeed find the courage to try again. He leaned over me and smiled kindly, patting me on the shoulder. I can do this. It's pitch black out there. You need to use a torch, and then it would see you, I said, wincing once more at the growing pain in my chest. I'll flash it on and off. That way it won't know where I am. Maybe it'll get confused. I don't know. He clutched the torch tightly while looking at the kitchen knife in his other hand. Hopefully that'll give me enough time to see what's in front of me and head to the car. The keys should still be dropped where I left them. Jay, please wait until morning, I asked. But as my friend looked at me clutching my chest, I knew he had already made up his mind, and part of me was glad for the hope of his bravery. Oh my God.
Yeah, you like some of these sentences? Yeah.
I don't. I feel like I don't know how to read.
Well, it's one of those things where, like, like creepypastas, it's like first draft only. Not a lot of second
Not a lot of
eyes
edits.
on here. Yeah.
Oh boy. Barricade the door as soon as I'm out. Okay, I said, trying to hold back the tears, both of pain and worry for my friend's life. Oh, this is a long paragraph.
That is a huge fucking paragraph. I just
scrolled. It's still going.
I just scrolled down, my eyes just like, oh my God. It's one sentence. That's one sentence over 15 lines.
No breathing for the foreseeable future.
Here you go. Take a deep breath. Here we go.
He gave me a hug, and then he was gone. I closed the... He dies of a heart attack. His friend leaves him. That's that.
Hey, I think we're good.
I closed the door and bolstered it once more with anything I could find before pulling myself back onto the couch and looking outside. At first, I could see nothing but the black stillness of the forest. Then a blast of light. Then another. And another as Jay's torch sporadically burst into life. Each flash illuminated the landscape around him like a ghostly photograph documenting his progress towards the car. I could see what he was doing, and I smiled to myself for a moment, once more impressed by his ingenuity. He wasn't moving in a straight line, but zigzagging, so that his path could not be anticipated. Another flash, and another. Each time, no sign of the creature, and one more precious moment closer to the car. Grass, tree, an anonymous wilderness of darkness. Another flash, another patch of grass. He was so close. Then the intermittent light became erratic, moving one way, then another, backwards, left, right. Was he lost? Was he unsure which direction the car was in? A more horrific thought then entered my mind. Was he being chased? A flash of light, nothing. Then another, nothing again. Finally, the light beamed. He made it to the car. The light was quickly extinguished, followed by the sound of the door opening. One last flash of a torch. The isolated outline of a hunched figure standing behind my friend. A blood-curdling scream. Then nothing. Jay was gone. The beast had got him. I was alone.
Yay!
Grief. Grief now mingled with fear, feeding the pain in my chest and arm. My friend was most probably dead, and I was certain that I would soon follow him. I fell to my knees, sure that this was it. The end. Agony ran up my chest once more. There I knelt in the darkness, alone, resigned to my death. But as my heart slowed, my thoughts became clear. They turned to my daughter. I would like to say, if he's writing this, we already know he didn't die.
Yeah, we assume that. Like, but
Is
this
it
was
from the grave?
The beast is writing it.
I just picture the beast with like an old-timey pencil and an old-timey book just like sitting in his cabin, and then he closes it when he's done.
Yep.
Puts it away.
Puts it on the shelf with the other yellowed paged book and stuff.
Yeah.
That's
like
always my problem with stories that are like, let me tell you a tale that I encountered. It's like, well, we know you survived. Like there's got to be some sort of twist there or something that, makes it make sense other than that,
Right. Yeah. But as my heart slowed, my thoughts became clear. They turned to my daughter. Whether a good dad or not, I would be damned if I was going to leave her fatherless. And what of Susie?
Who fucking cares about Susie, dude?
She doesn't love you anymore.
You fragile bastard.
Right. Jesus. I still loved her. And perhaps... love.
Gross.
Ugh. And perhaps in those sweet memories of better times between us, I could fix things, bring us back together as a family. She could learn to love me again. I would set things right.
Are we sure
I don't
this
know
isn't?
about that.
Are we sure that this isn't him actually like still in the hospital? Like this isn't his like fever dream death like shit? Like that's the only thing like other unless it's like and I made it home, which is lame. The only other thing that makes sense is like he's already in the hospital and stuff like that, and this is like his brain fucking coming up with shit.
I like it.
I don't know.
I would like that better than him just surviving.
Yeah, because he's the worst character in the story.
What's the fun in that?
He's a bitch who has heart attacks. That's the worst superpower anybody could have.
I got a wonky heart. Get it together and move on. Jeez. Shove your face in some ice. That's all you gotta do.
Or just fucking die. God damn,
Quit
dude.
prolonging this. My heart still beat. And as long as it did, there was time left yet. For hope. For escape. For life.
But Susie.
But time to do what? The phone was dead, and all I could wait for was daylight. Yet that was at least 3 hours away, and I severely doubted that I would last that long. Never mind that I was unsure that the old cabin door would survive an attack from whatever that hulking creature was that lurked outside. I peered out through the window, the rain lashing down once more, obscuring an already ill-defined exterior world. And still, I was certain I could see something limping around in the darkness. As glints of moonlight pierced through the charcoal clouds above, I was sure that the attacker was out there somewhere, pacing, circling, waiting.
Bum, bum.
But what was it? Was it a man? Or a thing yet to be discovered by science?
Was it Susie?
Was it Susie?
Is she finally here to love me?
I did not know where to turn, but all I could think of was getting home to my family.
Ugh.
The hopeful, here we go. The hopeful warm embrace of Susie and my daughter was enough to fuel my search for a way out.
This guy's pathetic.
It really is.
This
is hard.
Isn't he supposed to be out here fucking like just trying to move on and get feeling better and everything? And he's not helping himself out at all.
He's really not. This guy needs.
I'm really hoping that the author of this isn't like using this as like self-soothing therapy.
Oh.
This is actually him.
Yeah, you put it that way. I can't feel like a jerk.
Maybe if I slip this story under Susie's door, she'll forgive me for sleeping with her sister in the board.
Ouch! That doesn't sound enjoyable at all. My only refuge was the book, that volume which I had mocked so readily before. I had now considered the possibility that my dear friend and I had both come in contact with the beast of Blackwood. At the start of the day, that idea would have seemed ridiculous, but fear opens the mind quickly to any avenue of escape. I sat at the table and used the light from my torch to illuminate the pages, still shielding it from the outside. What I read intrigued me. The creature had been described since the 1700s, and there was even a suggestion that it had been seen before that, as there were references to the, quote, gray man of Blackwood Forest and fragmented accounts from centuries earlier. There didn't seem to be...
So just a second ago, this guy was like, I don't know how long I have. This thing's going to burst through at any moment.
Right.
Hold on. Let me read this for a bit. The 1700s.
I'm going to get cozy. There didn't seem to be much in the way of the 20th century sightings. In fact, that last person to come forward officially had been in 1952, claiming to have encountered a stooped, gray-faced figure with contorted, arched back, disappearing between the trees on the other side of the forest. The original myth didn't say much about its origins, but it certainly spoke of its motivations. The creature was drawn or attracted by greed. Children would be told to share and be kind, otherwise the beast of Blackwood would appear from the forest and snatch them away at night. This is definitely a European story.
It's fucking Krampus.
If we didn't know this before, yeah.
It's fucking Krampus. He's gonna beat your ass with reeds.
Right. I could not look in the mirror and say that I was never guilty of greed or selfishness or of a number of other petty human frailties, but to be punished in this way seemed cruel. A dying prisoner trapped in a cabin of Blackwood Forest, returning to the book, the only supposed protection against the creature was light, or being a person without selfish frailties. In centuries gone by, villagers in the local area would line the paths through the forest with burning torches when the beast had been sighted, to ward away from unwary travelers. It's that easy to just shine a flash. I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
I think this is propaganda written by the beast. Just come out into the forest with a flashlight. Swear he won't hurt you.
Thud. 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 Each thump sent waves of terrors through my body. It was not my heart, but someone at the door. Thud. 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 I hoped beyond hope that my friend had once again managed to evade the creature's grasp. Brandishing a kitchen knife, I hobbled to the door and plucked up the courage to shout, "Jay, is that you?" I prayed that it was, but the answer I was given was not the voice of one of my oldest friends, nor was it even that of a man, but a shrill cry of something utterly inhuman, a sound which spoke of time and age and moss and dank forest, a childlike shriek of unspeakable purpose. The door shook violently as I piled more chairs, pots, anything I could find beyond the wooden barrier. The pounding was loud and angered, and the cries continued. I clutched my ears in despair and then remembered. The light. The torches of old warding the beast away. I flicked the switch, and of the porch light came on. Another cry echoed across the empty landscape, and at that, the thudding stopped.
I mean, if it's purely nocturnal, maybe the light hurts its eyes.
Okay.
I guess. Something better happened because this is very anticlimactic.
I just turned the light on.
Like my friend was murdered, but I turned on the front porch light and all was well.
And the boogeyman went away. I quickly turned all the lights on in the house, now realizing the creature's weakness. I wasn't sure if it would last, but I could just make it till dawn. Maybe the sun would save me. Then I heard it, the sound of something moving, shuffling, climbing. I stood, paralyzed at the realization. It came from my bedroom. The beast had I don't know how. The beast had gotten in, attracted no doubt by any greed and selfishness I had harbored throughout my life. Slowly, the door from the bedroom creaked open. My heart pounded, and again, my thoughts turned to my family. My daughter's laugh and the comforting caresses of my wife.
Kill him, beast. Kill him now.
Please, I am rooting for the beast at this point.
It's fine with the daughter stuff. The daughter stuff is fine. But like the fact it always goes back to my wife, who is shacked up with Jay somewhere. But he's like almost like cucked. He's just like, you want me to? I'll hold your hair back.
I'm still here. Just let me know if you need me.
Yeah. I'll clean up when you guys are done.
Oh God.
You guys need you guys need electrolytes? You look famished.
Oh my God. Okay, let's do this. They fueled me, drove me to strength I did not know I had. I launched in terror across the room, battering against the door. Even with all my momentum, the creature's hand managed to slip through the gap, its bobbled gray skin and black matted hair soaked by the rain. I swung with my knife, only to miss its arms. The beast seemed to hesitate for a moment. As it did, I shoved my hand through the gap in the door and flicked the light in the room, a howl of pain, then nothing. I gasped for air and rested against the door for a time, before I finally plucked up the courage to look inside. A window lay wide open, but the room was empty. I closed the window and staggered back to the main room. My heart raced, and while I fought to stay on my feet, a sweeping pain arched up through my back and needled into my chest, knocking the wind out of me. I felt like I was going to pass out and stumbled forward, landing on the couch. I breathed slow and deep. Not yet, please God, not yet. The cabin remained eerily quiet, and the silence sat in the memories of better times, of my daughter playing as a child, of traveling with Jay in my 20s, of Susie's smile.
Fucking Susie! God damn it!
I didn't know how long I lay there, but I knew soon that my body would give up. I looked out through the large bay window behind the couch and hoped to see the first welcome rays of sunlight, but I saw nothing but darkness. If I was to survive, I had to make it to the car, outrun the beast, and drive through the forest to a hospital, or at least a main road. If ever I was to see my family again, to put everything right, the car was my only hope. Or it was nothing. Have at it.
Okay. Then suddenly, the creature's stilted head rose up from behind the window's sill. The inhuman face pressed against the cold glass. Its gray skin sagged and weeped away from its eyes, the moist red flesh underneath visible in the cabin's light. The shock had finished me. My heart stopped for a brief moment and then thudded, struggling to maintain my life. My body went limp, my head resting only inches from the window. Looking up helplessly, I watched as the beast stared into my eyes through the pane of glass. My heart sprang into another deluge of beats, battering away at the inside of my chest. A sharp pain ran up my neck. The creature's green-tinged stare stabbed through me, and as its breath fogged the glass, I grabbed the only thing at hand, the old yellowed book, and thrust it at its putrid face. Book followed by fists shattered the glass. Countless pieces of shards showered down upon both beast and myself. A scream, a hideous shriek of derision cut through the icy blackened night as I struck those horrid, accursed features, and again and again. Its thorned hands? Okay.
I guess.
Its thorned hands waved and flailed, grabbing hold of me, and for a second I thought it was going to tear me from the inside of the cabin. Then the winter frost came to my defense. The beast slipped from its footing on a pipe which clung to the outside of the rickety old shack, and as I clawed at its face with utter disgust, the creature fell the 6 or 7 feet to the ground below. So are we on the second story?
I don't know. They also talked about it being like 12 steps just to get to the cabin, so it's very high off the ground.
Okay. Well, maybe because of the river. The sound of something hurt lying beneath the shattered window broke my daze as I stared at the contents of my hand. Where there once had been eyes, the face now stared eyeless at me. Where there once had been a mouth, the creature gaped wild, lifeless, jawless, and utterly without agency. For in my fading grip lay the torn and crumbled remains of a mask.
Oh.
On the ground below...
Was it Susie?
Oh, thank God. I murdered my wife. On the ground below, a man writhed in pain, wrapped in the vestiges of a hulking, false, monstrous suit. The fall having knocked the wind from him, something then moved in the darkness nearby. A patter of feet, light and agile. Susie?
Are you fucking kidding
my
me?
soon-to-be ex-wife, the one I had adored and agonized over, she screamed, attending to her lover on the ground. My closest and dearest friend Jay, the beast of Blackwood Forest? What? Are we fucking Susie looked up at me with hatred and contempt in her eyes, but I couldn't muster anger nor jealousy. All I could think of was that I must have been a monster to have deserved such malice from those I loved, the two people I trusted most in the world. Jay slowly rose to his feet, and yet he could not acknowledge me. He could not look up to the friend he had betrayed.
What the hell is happening?
Then it came. Finally, my heart began to give in. Not at fright or fear, but at the sadness, loss, the anguish of a broken heart. I stood up clutching my chest, and as I staggered backwards, I saw the smiling face of Susie, and then the words of my once trusted friend, "Thank God." They embraced beneath the window as I fell to the cold and solid wood cabin floor, and yet I did not lose consciousness. The pain was agonizing, but nothing compared to the sharp incisions made by each word spoken from below the window. "What are we going to do about the window?" Susie asked. "I'll just say he smashed it during the heart attack. But maybe they'll guess." "No, baby." Oh, shit. There we go. "No, baby, they won't guess anything. He'll be dead, and we can start our new life together.
Oh my
when
God.
the insurance pays out." Now you.
It just got really like realistic.
I jokingly just fucking like at the beginning I was like, and the like
Yeah.
usually like, and then there was a clown. This is the clown.
Yeah. Insurance.
Yeah. Now you need to go back to the woods and go home. I'll clean up here, and then phone an ambulance once I'm sure he's gone. I almost chuckled to myself as I writhed around helpless on the floor. I had hoped that Susie had refused a divorce because of love, because deep down she still wanted me, but instead it was only to hang on to how much money my death would make her. For a while, I heard Jay slip and swear as he attempted to climb up the broken window once more, but each time he failed to pull himself inside. He then changed tactic and tried to push at the door, but again, I had barricaded it effectively, and obviously he didn't want to force it and leave further evidence of foul play. It was then, oh my God, we're almost at the end. It was then that he started shouting in anger, even cursing my name of all things. It was only a matter of time before he got in, cleaned the place up, and told the police how sorry he was that his dear old friend's heart just gave up. My last thoughts were of my daughter, and never having the chance to fix my mistakes as a father, I finally passed out. And yet, my assumed death was not to be. I woke to find myself in the white glow of a hospital room, my hand held tightly by my daughter, who slept in a chair next to my bed. The doctor who attended to me said that I had suffered another heart attack, but one which was not as severe as the last, and that while I was to take it easy with some therapy, I would recover. The police were keen to speak with me. I gave them my account of what had occurred, and they in turn told me of all they knew. My unconscious body had been discovered next to a main road just outside of Blackwood Forest on the outskirts of the nearest town. The cabin was thoroughly searched and was found in the same condition as I had left it, the window smashed and the front door locked and barricaded from the inside. There was no trace of Jay or my wife. They simply could not be found. The only evidence that had ever been there were their footprints in the mud around the cabin, accompanied by a third, much longer set, which led back deep into Blackwood Forest. Boo!
Did the monster save him?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe the monster. Jesus Christ.
Did the beast carry him to safety?
This started with such promise.
Yeah.
And like just kept getting wordier and wordier, and then once it got into like the whole, "Hey baby, I'll just blah," I was like, "Are you fucking serious?"
Yeah, it got real, like, almost cringy there for a second.
Oh my God. It got cringy is an understatement. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. That was something. I was holding out hope, and
Still holding it out?
yeah, just not great.
Like reviewers and stuff are just like, "Nice plot twist at the end. I didn't see that coming. It's nice to find a good gem amongst all the other pasta I've read. Amazing,
I will
my
say,
friend. Just amazing."
I see these too, yeah. And it's like, yeah, it was a twist, but it's hilarious. It's so unbelievable because we joked about it the entire fucking time.
Yeah.
As in thinking that's not going to be the case.
Well, initially, until we got to the end where the twist is revealed and stuff, I was like, this would be so much better if we didn't have this like failed marriage tied to it, because that just like kept pulling me out of it being creepy. Like anytime it'd be creepy, it's like, but Susie.
Right.
I was like, oh my God, dude. So
nobody cares.
So that's The Face of Fear by Michael Whitehouse.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, hopefully the next
seeing
one's
our
better.
faces.
Yeah, hopefully the next one's better. If you guys have any suggestions, you know, hit us up at you know, the email potofthedead666@gmail.com. And so is that the name of this? Serious Pasta for Serious People?
That's the subtitle.
I think that's the
title
name.
The title is what did we say? Now I don't even remember what the original title was.
I think the name is Serious Pasta for Serious People.
I like it. A creepy pasta podcast.
Yeah, there you go.
I like it. That's the subtitle.
All right.
So.
Well, that's all we got for today.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks for joining. I was going to say thanks for joining us for story time.
Yeah, no shit.
Bye.